My God, I hate drugs.
President Duterte asking the Commission on Audit to reconsider its report, calling for the return of the 5 million pesos spent for the Hajj pilgrimage of 27 Filipino Muslims last year. They are among the internally displaced people of Marawi City. The COA, in its report in 2018, said the fund was diverted from the Task Force Bangon Marawi funds, supposed to be used for the rehabilitation of the war-torn city. It says the expense was unauthorized. It is asking the Housing and Urban Development Council, or HUDC, to refrain from charging unrelated expenses to the fund. Here's the president in his own words.
So I am asking COA to reconsider ano ba naman yung 5 million. Actually, that 5 million is worth billions in terms of your kind, I said, generosity to finance the poor people na Muslim para makapag-Hajj. Sabihin mo anong importante sa iyo, yung bahay mo o yung Hajj? And he would readily say, sa Hajj. At gusto ko, Mayor, na magpunta ako doon. At sana, kung ibigay ni Allah, doon na sana ako mamatay at ilibing. If you can understand the culture, then we're the blessed person in the society.
The president went on to admit he himself allotted funds to help elderly Muslims who sought funding for a pilgrimage to Mecca when he was still Davao City Mayor.
Pag hinabol mo yung 5 million na yan, then I started as mayor in 1988. Pati yung panahon ni Inday until now, meron kaming Hajj funds talaga. I kept on sending. I started with 10, then 20, since 1988. And Inday is still doing it. Na ngayon, kung ipa-reimburse mo yan, saan man ako maghanap ng pera, pwede magpakulong na lang ako. Over the years, it's not a financing of a religious journey. Do not take it in that sense, that there is a separation of church and state. Take it as a pacification campaign.
He also told COA not to go after him, his daughter, and HUDC Chief Eduardo Del Rosario for the fund transfer, or else people in Mindanao will revolt. Del Rosario earlier appealed to the audit body to allow the disbursement of funds. The Constitution states no money shall be appropriated, applied, paid, or employed directly or indirectly for the use or benefit of any sect, church, or system of religion. Social Welfare and Development Secretary Rolando Bautista accepts radio commentator Erwin Tulfo's apology, but there's a catch, and it's going to cost Tulfo a lot of money, roughly 6 million pesos. Bautista wants Tulfo to donate 300,000 pesos each to at least 19 different institutions and units of the Armed Forces and the Philippine National Police, as well as trust funds for children of the SWD employees and displaced Marawi residents. In lieu of having to pay damages for invectives Tulfo hurled against Bautista some 2 weeks ago. Bautista implied he would no longer file charges against Tulfo. Bautista was a former Army commanding general and a 1985 graduate of the Philippine Military Academy. Tulfo was upset with Bautista for not having granted him an interview. Over the weekend, both the AFP and the PNP recalled their personnel who served as security detail of Tulfo and his 3 brothers. Just today, the PNP announced it asked Tulfo to turn over his firearms, whose licenses expired last month.
As of now, we cannot reveal the number of firearms that is now in inventory, but a notice has already been sent to his last known address, recalling his registered firearms. These can be subjected to a search warrant because remember that the all firearms holder or owners need to have in possession a license to own and possess firearms. Without this, there is no authorization for an individual to keep firearms, even if these are registered or licensed firearms.
The PNP adds Tulfo cannot apply for the renewal of his license to own and possess firearm until the election period ends on June 12th. CNN Philippines tried to get a comment from Erwin Tulfo, but he declined. Tulfo is currently overseas and is expected back in the country on June 20. A U.S.-based think tank suggesting the country should work with Vietnam to demand that China enter a deal on fish management in the contested waters. This as the destruction of the marine ecosystem in the South China Sea worsens. Our George Cahiles tells us more.
Gregory Poling, the executive director of Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative, says the marine ecosystem in the South China Sea is in danger of collapse unless claimants in the disputed area act urgently. He proposes that the Philippines work with Vietnam to ask China to negotiate a deal on fisheries management in the disputed area. Poling says China's dredging activities to create artificial islands, harvesting giant clams, and other activities have destroyed around 182 square kilometers of coral reefs. He says the Philippines can't afford to wait for the code of conduct between China and ASEAN countries if it wants to protect its fisheries.
The fish are going to be dead pretty soon, and that the Philippines is not going to be handcuffed to an ASEAN-China code of conduct process with some indefinite end date that may or may not even touch on these issues.
Poling says the three countries may identify the most overfished and the most damaged coral reefs and shoals that need to heal over time and declare them as protected zones. In terms of enforcement, he says the three countries may agree not to discuss their sovereign rights while the dispute is still ongoing. Instead, they may create probationary jurisdiction boundaries so they may effectively enforce fisheries management.
We're all going to agree on what the catch limits are. We're all going to agree on where the marine parks are. If you catch my fishermen illegally fishing, arrest them and send them back to me for prosecution.
Marine scientist Deo Onda recently went to the Kalayaan Island group and saw the destroyed coral reefs in the area. Onda says it's important to protect the area because its destruction affects fisheries in Palawan and Luzon Islands. He adds fish products from Kalayaan Island group are also being brought to Palawan and even Metro Manila. And with less catch, supply may also be affected.
Yung bitukan ng mga tao sa mainland Philippines, konektado sa kung anong meron sa Kalayaan Island Group. Pag pumunta ka ng Pag-asa, ang isa sa pinaka-kinabubuhay ng mga tao doon ay pangingisda. At yung pangingisda, gumagawa sila ng daing, ng tuyo. Yung mga fish products na yan, pinapadala ng mainland Palawan. At galing sa mainland Palawan, yung iba, pinapadala pa yan ng Manila. So kung mahilig ka sa tuyo, mahilig ka sa dilis, mahilig ka sa daing, baka yung kinakain mo araw-araw actually nanggagaling sa Kalayaan Island Group.
In March, former Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario and former Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales filed a communication to the International Criminal Court asking it to look into alleged crimes committed by Chinese President Xi Jinping for China's atrocious actions in the South China Sea and Philippine waters. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
The United States and Russian navies at odds over an apparent near collision in the Pacific, with each side blaming the other. Based on two opposing reports, the U.S. and Russian warships came somewhere between 50 and 165 feet of each other. Both are alleging their ships were forced to perform emergency maneuvers to avoid a collision. A U.S. Navy official says the Russian destroyers' unsafe and unprofessional action put the safety of their crew and ship at risk. Russia's Pacific Fleet quickly contradicted this. It claimed it was the U.S. ship that instigated the incident. The U.S. says the incident occurred in the Philippine Sea, while the Russian report says it happened in the East China Sea. Another issue of supposed misuse of public funds, this time with the Veterans Affairs Office. It's responding to a state audit report saying it has released benefits to dead pensioners. The agency admits having cases of over-remittances, but insists those were unintentional. Officials say efforts are ongoing to recover the funds. Our senior correspondent, David Santos, tells us more.
Retired Army soldier Amonio Emanuel updates his records this time of the year at the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office. At 79, he doesn't mind appearing at PVAW as a requirement for his monthly pension. His daughter Army escorts and helps him out.
Kasi minsan lang naman siya lumalabas eh. Ito na nga, naiinip din pa sa loob. Kaya yun na lang po, parang pinakita na yung pinakapasyal niya.
There are about 180,000 pensioners receiving benefits from PVAW. It regularly verifies these pensioners to make sure they are still alive. But in its 2018 report, state auditors cited PVAW for over-remitting 70 million pesos worth of monthly pensions. Why? Because these payments supposedly were given to pensioners who have been dead for months. PVAW officials deny this.
Pag namatay ka, maski nandun ka sa payroll list ko, sa payroll list namin, mahaba na yung 2 to 3 months, malalaman namin na patay ka.
When a pensioner dies, the National Statistics Office reports to PVAW once the death certificate is issued. The Postal Service, the Veterans Federation, and even private banks help out PVAW periodically verify the pensioner's payroll.
Pero sabihin mo lang, sige, 2 months, may nakalusot, di ba? Eh, ang burial assistance niya, 20,000, di may ma-offset namin.
PVAW Administrator Ernesto Carolina says 60% of the 70 million have either been recovered or refunded. The bank accounts of the other 40% have been suspended and the funds recalled. To continue receiving payments, pensioners at least once a year need to submit their biometrics and documents, including photos, as proof of life.
Ito dapat kita yung dyaryo kasi dinidetect din namin based on the headline, yung date ng dyaryo.
Others may opt to chat with PVAW workers online.
Usually po kasi sir yung nag-a-avail ng Skype validation, yung mga nasa ibang bansa po na wala na pong chance makapunta dito sa amin. Tsaka po yung mga bedridden na po.
Contrary to reports, PVAW boasts of introducing reforms significantly improving their bureaucratic processes. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Malacanang ordering PhilHealth to file criminal complaints against those involved in so-called ghost treatments. PhilHealth officials yesterday said they have filed administrative cases against a dialysis center, supposedly claiming benefits for non-existent kidney treatments. 4 doctors were also charged. Officials admitted that aside from ghost kidney treatments, more cases of fraudulent treatment claims made by other individuals and hospitals have slipped past them. In a statement, presidential spokesman Sal Panelo says the palace is concerned about these cases of fraud and that PhilHealth is directed to submit a detailed report on the alleged irregularities. In other news, authorities assure commuters the LRT2 is safe. Operations were suspended for over an hour this morning because of a technical problem. This forced passengers to get off the train in Quezon City. Speaking to CNN Philippines, the Light Rail Transit Authority explains the technical glitch.
It has something to do dun sa riles ng ating tren. Malapit, dun sa area na malapit sa Cubao Station. Yung actual na problema, kinukuha ko pa, hindi pa nakakarating sa amin yung detailed report kung ano yung problema. But definitely, hindi ho yung mga tren ang may problema, but yung riles po. And pagdating po sa riles, automatic po yan, mangingibabaw yung mga safety procedure natin. At automatic talagang nagsuspend tayo ng operation. So far doon sa simulation na ginawa nila at saka mga corrective measures na ginawa nila, okay naman na siya. So may assurance na hindi na siya mauulit o ibig sabihin hindi na tayo magde-declare pa ulit ng suspension on that particular issue. Definitely may mga gagawin pang mga procedures but later na yan, sa gabi na lang. In-assess na siya properly ng ating safety officer at saka ng ating mga engineering personnel and safe na siyang daanan.
Some 850 northbound passengers of the MRT3 also experienced delays. They were offloaded at past 5 this afternoon because of an electrical failure in the train's motor. The Department of Transportation says worn out electrical subcomponents is one cause of motor electrical failure. About 8,000 transport vehicles will be deactivated by ride-hailing company Grab on Monday. What are the basis of their removal from the platform? Our Makoy Popioko tells us in this report.
Ngayon, 2018 pa to. Sana naman itong 2018 na to, ibigay nila sa amin. Kasi hindi namin makita yung logic. Mag-file kami ng extension. Pero hindi nila maibigay sa amin to kagawa nga.
Caripe Bacala cries in frustration after she was told her vehicle's provisional authority to operate is still pending. She's among dozens of Transport Network Vehicle Service, or TNVS operators who lined up for hours at the regulatory agency to follow up the re-accreditation to operate. Since the announcement of ride-hailing company Grab that it will deactivate about 8,000 units which have pending documents, hundreds of operators have flocked to the LTFRB office to follow up their status. Many are worried because they rely on Grab to pay off the monthly amortization of their cars. The chaos escalated operators' disappointment.
Sana man lang magkaroon ng maayos na sistema.
LTFRB Chairman Martin Delga clarifies the agency wants Grab to deactivate only those who did not apply at all for franchise. Those which have processed their documents should not worry.
We have, in fact, instructed the technical division to issue on a weekly basis yung mga TNVS na nag-file na o kaya nagbigyan ng PA. Ang ibig sabihin po niyan, pag natanggap nila yung listahan, it's up for the TNC now to reach out to the TNVS.
Delgra also defends their system, saying they have already sorted out their processes to make them faster. But if the system has been fixed, why this long line? Many of the operators here admit they have also been remiss in following up their papers. TNVS operators should secure authorization to a certain safety compliance and ensure passengers have accident insurance. Transport regulators remind operators to be diligent in processing their papers. They also vow to police the surge of Grab fares. The agency has also ordered Grab to explain why it is removing unaccredited TNVS units in one go when it has advised the company as early as May to sort out its list. CNN Philippines reached out to Grab for comment. However, it has yet to reply to our questions. Makoy Popioko, CNN Philippines.
The LTFRB is also asking Grab to address complaints on its failure to implement the Grab discount for persons with disabilities, seniors, and students.